What's up everyone, my name is Gazzy B, welcome back to the vlog. I'm here at the Venetian playing a 5-10-20 game, and I've just realised I forgot to do my intro. We're about 3 hours in, so let's get straight into the action, let's get straight into the game, let's go. Alright guys, I have a whopping 28 hands that I wrote down in my phone from this session. I've had to condense them down into one vlog-worthy episode, otherwise we'd be here all week. Let's get straight into it. First hand of the night, I've got King 10 of spades in the cutoff. I raised to $50 because we've got the $20 straddle on. The small blind is a quiet Asian kid. He's going to put in the re-raise to $260. This is a big size, but we got to defend here in position, so I go ahead and make the call. The flop comes down ace 10-9 with 2 diamonds and 1 spade. The small blind bets out for $120. Really small bet on this board. There's nothing else for me to do other than make the call. The turn is the 4 of clubs. Nothing changes. He checks to me, and my hand is a very clear check back. The river is the queen of spades. If only that turn was a spade. But alas, it's not to be. My opponent checks to me. I've got way too much showdown value to bluff here, so I just check it on back. Don't expect to win often. And sure enough, he's got ace-jack offsuit for top pair, and my pair of 10s can't beat it. Not off to the best of starts here, but the table is relatively good. The action seems to be flowing a little bit. And next up, we're in the small blind with pocket 10s. The cutoff is raised to $60. The button is my new best friend, Jonathan. He's a young aggro kid who likes to play a lot of pots. He makes it $170 to go. I put in the cold 4-bet from the small blind to $460. I expect him to fold a bunch because he's 3-betting versus a non-pro, and we're doing well when he does make the call, which of course young Jonathan does. We go heads up to the flop. It is 8-6-3 all hearts. I'm kind of in no man's land here. Still, I decide to just c-bet, deny equity from all of his like queen jack of clubs type hands, and there's some value to be had as well, so I bet out for $250, and after a few seconds, Jonathan makes the call. The turn is the king of hearts, disaster turn. 4 hearts on board now. I check it on over to my opponent, and after about 45 seconds or so, he bets out for a really small $300. I don't see how I can continue here. Really hard to find bluffs, so I just sigh, I let it go, and I say nice hand. He shows his cards to the camera. He's got 7-6 of clubs. I turn to him and say, that's it, Jonathan. We're not best friends anymore, to the delight of the entire table. Not after a great start here, but hoping that'll change when I'm in the small blind for this next hand with ace-jack offsuit. I raise to $60. The big blind makes the call. He's dead money when he calls in this spot, and it induces a lot of squeezes from the pro in the straddle, who of course makes it $260 to go. I make the call, and as expected, the big blind gets out the way. We go heads up to the flop. It is queen 8-3 with 2 diamonds. My opponent c-bets for $240, and I think we have to call here with the ace of diamonds. It's just too strong of a card for us to hold and fold on the flop. So I make the call, and we see a 5 roll off on the turn. My opponent instantly bet $700. I floated with evil intentions, but now of course have to just go ahead and fold. I'm down about 2.7k after about 2 hours or so in this game. I just haven't won any real pots so far. Next hand though, I'm on the button with ace king offsuit. The cutoff raises to $50, and I make it $160 to go. This is a little more than 3x standard size from me. The straddle is the kid with the ace jack offsuit earlier. He makes it $460 to go. Action is back on me, and I fake tank for a few seconds before announcing that I'm all in. He absolutely folds, and we take it down pre-flop. This is the first nice pot of the night for me. Little variance-free $500 coming my way. I'll absolutely take it. I decide to shove ace-king here. I'd probably call pocket queens and jacks versus the 4-bet, but ace-king blocks aces and kings, so it's more likely he's got a hand like queens or jacks, and when we have queens, we're more likely to run into aces and kings, which is why I would just flat the queens there. Ace-king worked pretty well for us. Let's go to the other end of the spectrum here with 6-5 of clubs. The low jack is raised to $50, and I make it $160 to go. 3-betting these low suited connectors sometimes. Who am I kidding? I'm 3-betting them always. The small blind then puts in the cold 4-bet to $500. The original raiser gets out of the way, and I'm in position here, so I decide to make the call. He also cold 4-bet folded versus me earlier when I 5-bet shoved, so it's not like he's just always got the nuts here. We go heads up to the flop. It is king queen 8 with 2 diamonds. Absolute swing and a miss for me. He c-bets for whatever amount. I don't even waste a moment in just letting my hand go. Can't really get much going here tonight. Hoping these pocket kings though will start to turn the tides. The $40 straddle is on here, so I raise to $100 first to act. The player to my left calls, the button calls, and the $40 straddle calls as well. We go 4 ways to the flop, which is 10-8-7 with 2 diamonds. Really ugly flop, 4 ways in a single raise pot with kings without a diamond. So I check it on over to the guy to my left, and he's going to take a stab for $200. $240. The button is going to make the call. I don't love it, but I think we have to call here as well. The turn is a queen of diamonds. Flush draw gets there. I don't have a diamond. Just shoot me already, dealer. We check it on over to the button, and he's going to bet out for $500. I'm sandwiched in between these two guys. So I just sigh, I make a disciplined fold, I just let it go, and the guy to my left folds as well. I'm now down over $3,000 in this game. It just feels like I'm bleeding. I've also been here for about 10 hours or so, but I gotta tell you, morale is still pretty high here tonight. Alright, quick update, the game is going on behind me. We're 9 hours in, I've got starting stack, I am down about 4k, and I'm just bleeding it, but we're not quitting, we're gonna keep going until the guy at the hole, as God is my witness, we'll just keep it going. Yeah, that's all we can do, just keep it going. Alright, back into my seat here after a very quick break, and I'm greeted into it in the hijack with 6-5 of clubs. I raised to $50. The button makes it $150 to go. He's a new player to the game. If you expect me to fold suited connectors to a 3-bet at 2 AM, then I gotta tell you, you're watching the wrong vlogger, guys. Thank God I didn't fold as the flop comes down. Jack, 9, deuce, all clubs. The C-bet comes in for $100. We can raise right here, right now, and start to build the pot, but this guy is aggro, and there are a lot of board-changing turns, so I decide to play it safe and just call. The turn is the 2 of hearts. He now bets $180. Time to build the pot now. I raise to $700, praying he doesn't fold, which he does not. He makes the call. Heartbeat is rising a little here as we head to the river. Keep it clean, dealer. It is a beautiful 3 of diamonds. If I was good before, I'm good now. After a few seconds of fake tanking, I move all in for $2,000 or so. Absolutely delighted to fade the 1-chip snap call from a higher flush. My opponent is deep into the tank. I'm praying he makes the call here. It'll send me right back close to even for the night. And after a while, he just folds. I honestly think that this guy was just posturing here with a hand like ace-king with 1 club. Something tells me he just didn't have anything and he was just saving face. Still, it's a big pot coming my way. And what's more, there's a new player in the game who is giving out a ton of action, like a lot of action. All the regs also seem really happy to see him as well. Great fun. Just like in this next hand, I'm in the cutoff with king 6 of diamonds. Middle position was raised to $50. I make a very loose call here because I've got a 95% view pip guy to my left, and it's 3 AM. You guys think I've got solid flattened ranges at 3 AM? Come on. The guy to my left, of course, makes the call. The small blind calls as well. We go 4 ways to the flop. It is 8-7-5 with 2 hearts and 1 diamond. A spicy start here with the straight draw and the backdoor flush draw. We check to the button, who takes a stab for $180, and I am the only player to make the call. The turn is a king to give me top pair, and unfortunately it just goes check, check. The river is another king. What a great run out here. And I bet out for $500 because this guy loves to call. And sure enough, he doesn't take long in making the call with a worse hand. I turn it over. I'm good, and I'm scooping in this really nice pot on a bit of a heater now in the last couple of hands. The last few pots coming my way. Back under 2k in the red for the night and picking up some momentum as we go. Next up, I'm in the hijack with ace-6 of hearts. I raised to $40 by mistake. This is a genuine misclick. Starting to get quite tired here, and the button is going to make it $140. He's the guy that I flopped the flush versus just a few hands ago. We're quite deep here, and he's quite aggressive and splashy, so I go ahead and make the call. Bit of a loose call, but like I say, it's getting late. The game is giving a lot of action. We go heads up to the flop. It is ace king king with 1 heart and 2 clubs. Good start with top pair and the backdoor flush draw. My opponent c-bets for $100, and I of course make the call. The turn is the 4 of hearts, top pair now with the nut flush draw. I checked my opponent, but he just checks it on back. The river is another ace. Well, I guess I can't lose the hand unless he's got weirdly played quads, but I doubt I can get much value here either. Still, gotta try. I bet out for $380, and he snap raises to $1,300. Like, snap raises to $1,300. This is just a chop always, so I just say call, turn my hand over, chop it up. He then says nice hand, and mugs. I nearly fall out my chair when he does this. Who is ever bluffing in this spot? This is a big donation from a guy that normally plays really quite well, and this is going to send me so close to even for the night now. I'm only down $300. Let's keep it going. All right, next up, I'm in the $20 straddle with ace-4 offsuit. The very fun players put on the $40 straddle. It folds round to me, and I decide to just limp in for $20 more. He checks his option. We go heads up to the flop. It is ace-5-5 with 2 spades. I decide to throw out a little check, see what happens, but he just checks it on back. The turn is a 6, and I bet out for $70, and sure enough, he makes the call. The river is a king, and this dude loves to call the river, so I bet out for $270, trying to get max value from a rivered king, maybe a 6. My opponent thinks for a long time, and then raises to $1,270. $170. Now, versus most players, I'd probably just go ahead and fold this, but versus this player, I'm happy to make the call. I really don't take long in making this call here. He turns over his hand. He's got 8-5 offsuit. Fuck. I was so close to being even for the night, but this player has check back trips in a limp pot and then absolutely milked me on the river. Back down $2,400, but the game is starting to get kind of insane, so I'm not leaving anytime soon. Even if we are coming up to 12 hours played, we're playing 6-handed 5, 10, 20, 40, and now we've got a round of blind 120s on the go at the request of the very action player. Like I said, this game is popping off. Not much going for me during this round of blind 120s. I've actually been card dead for about 2 hours or so, but hoping that'll change when I am on the button with pocket 7s. The cutoff raises to $100. I make the call on the button. The small blind is a tighter reg, and he puts in the squeeze to $500. The action heavy player has moved seats and is in the big blind for this hand. He makes the cold call out of the big blind. The cutoff folds, and I think I have to call here. We're 5k effective. If a 7 comes down, we could win a 15k pot versus these two guys. Easily in this game, that could happen. I make the call. We go 3 ways to the flop with $1,500 in there. And it comes down king 5 deuce, complete swing and a miss for me with my pocket 7s. So the reg c-bets here. The cold caller nearly folds his hand, but does decide to call in the end. I of course fold my hand. The turn is an 8. The reg has got ace king. The cold caller has got pocket 8s, and they get it in on the turn for a very nasty bad beat for the reg. And the action player is now starting to catch heat, winning this $11,000 pot in the process. This could be very dangerous for the rest of us here. It's now 8:15 a.m. and I'm starting to get really tired, but you could not drag me away from this game. It is absolutely amazing. Next up, I'm on the button here with ace king of hearts. I raise it on up to $120. The loose player calls, and my buddy Charlie is in the straddle. He makes it $520 to go. Would maybe consider flatting offsuit ace king here to keep it 3 ways versus the very fun player, but suited is too strong to flat. I make it $1,220 to go instead. The action player gets out of the way. I wouldn't have been surprised if he called there for $1,200, but Charlie is going to make the call. We're going heads up to the flop here with $2,500 in the middle. There's no ace and no king on the flop, but it does come down a very nice 8-5 deuce with 2 hearts. I've got 2 overs and the nut flush draw, so I decided to just keep my strategy simple. I bet out for $800, around 1/3 pot, setting up for turn jams if I don't improve and want to just shove with my equity. Charlie isn't going anywhere just yet. He makes the call. The turn is not a heart, it's not an ace, it's not a king, it's an offsuit 7. No help just yet, but I know my jacks, my queens, my kings, maybe my aces are going to want to jam here. So after a few seconds, I announce that I am all in. Happy to fade the snap call from pocket aces or pocket 8s or something like that. Charlie immediately asks for a count. It's clear he doesn't love it one bit. He's not snap folding just yet though. The dealer counts out $3,330. This is a big turn jam with already a lot in the middle already. This is a huge high pressure moment, but as he's tanking, I tell myself, whatever happens, happens. I've played it well. I've got outs if I get called. Still don't want him to call, mind you. After 3 agonizing minutes, he makes up his mind. He folds. Thank you, baby Jesus, for that. What a scary few minutes that was. He asks to see my cards. I show him only. He looks absolutely gutted. Great bluff by me there, scooping in this huge 4k pot with no showdown. Let's go. An hour later and we're 5-handed. I've got 10-8 of clubs in the big blind. The action player limps in for $40 under the gun. Charlie is in the small blind and makes it $200 to go. I call out the big blind with my suited 1-gapper, and the limper calls as well. We go 3 ways to the flop. It's 8-8-4 rainbow. What a start here. Charlie is going to c-bet for $200. I decide to just call. I want to keep you-know-who in the pot. And sure enough, you-know-who calls as well. We go 3 ways to the turn. It's the queen of diamonds. Flush draw now possible. Charlie checks to me, and this is very much a 9:15 a.m. been playing for 16 hours check from me. Sloppy in hindsight, but I'll forgive myself for being a bit tired here. This is punished when the limper just checks it back. The river is a meaningless deuce, nothing really changes, and Charlie now bets out for $1,350. I know he won't call a shove with worse here because I can never really be bluffing, and I know the limper loves to call, like he loves it, so I decide to just smooth call, absolutely loving this spot. I know I've got Charlie beat, and I'm just waiting to see if this guy will give me another $1,350. After about 90 seconds or so, he decides not to give me 1,350. He moves all in. I was not expecting that. I don't know what he's doing here. Charlie lets out a big sigh and makes a relatively quick fold. He told me later on that he had ace-queen, but now in this moment, this has gone from a dream spot to an absolutely disgusting spot. I called earlier when he had that 8-5 in the limp pot, but since then my read on him has kind of changed. He's not that bluffy. He loves to call, he loves to see flops, but he's not that bluffy. What's more, he checked back 3 of a kind on the flop in a limp pot, so he can for sure have hands like ace-8 here, king-8, queen-8, even call with a hand like pocket deuces that has just got there on the river. This is an absolutely disgusting spot out of nowhere. It's 5k for me to call, and I just don't know what to do. All the players get up from the table. They're kind of hovering around the outer area. Even players from the 1-3 game are coming over and watching. It's pretty cool, to be honest. I'm asking the guy questions like, will you show if I fold? What do you think I have? Trying to get a read off of him. And fair play to my opponent. He is unpenetrable. He does not move. He does not say a word. After 4 long minutes, I sigh. I question why I bother playing this stupid game sometimes. And I make a very, very disciplined fold. This is a disgusting fold, but I think it's the right fold. I ask him to show me one time, and he says the most incredible line I've ever heard. Dead serious. He looks at me and says, Gary, I like you, but if I show my hand, I'm not a poker player. This is an absolutely sensational line at 9:15 a.m. in the morning. Once again, I was really close to even, and once again, I'm back in the hole. Sigh. Doing my absolute best to win some pots here, and next up I'm in the big blind with King Jack of clubs. The hand starts with the action player blind raising to $240 out of nowhere. I actually love this guy. It folds round to me and I make it $620 to go out the big blind. The straddle gets out the way, the action player makes the call, shocker, and the flop comes down Jack 5-4 with 2 diamonds. I announce same bet and bet out for $620 again. Kind of fun to say same bet there. Happy to see my opponent make the call. The turn is the King of Hearts. Could not have picked a better turn card here. I continue blasting with my 2 pair on this double flush draw board. I bet out for $1,700, and again my opponent makes the call. This pot is huge here as we go to the river. $6,200 in there. Keep it clean, dealer. It's a black 4. Some pair and flush draws get there, but if he's got that, then I guess it's just time for bed. After a few seconds, I move all in for $2,030. He doesn't snap call. He doesn't snap fold. He goes deep into the tank. He's not the posturing type, so I know that he definitely has something here. He tells me that he hopes I have pocket 9s, but he thinks I might have ace-king. He actually shows me his hand. He's got Jack-8 offsuit. What a spot here. And I know that he's now very, very likely calling when he shows me that. This guy loves to call on the river. After another minute, he makes up his mind. He calls. Let's go. Kind of knew he was calling when he showed me his hand. I have huffed and I have puffed all night, and at long last, I have blown the house down. Back in profit for the night at long last. This 10k pot coming my way. I'm so happy I could cry. It takes me ages to stack it up. Absolutely ages, and I'm exhausted by the end of it. Shoulder day at the Venetian, anyone. 30 minutes later, I'm going to play my final hand and note for the session. We're temporarily 4-handed. The action player is raised to $240 on the button blind. It folds to me in the $40 straddle. I look down at ace-8 offsuit. He's got like $1,200 behind. This feels like tournament poker here. I just go ahead and stick it all in. He looks at his hand and he laughs. He shows me that he's got 7-5 offsuit. But then he says maybe it's time for bed and maybe he wants to go to sleep now. He actually tanks with his hand face up for a long time, wondering out loud whether he should just gamble or not. Now, it's 10:15 a.m. We've been here all night. No new players have joined the game. Not one single player for about 12 hours. He is just about to call when out of nowhere this new player sits down in seat 1, all fresh-faced and ready to play. The action player is just about to call it off here with 7 high for $1,200, but when this player sits down, he says that it changes everything, and then he folds his hand. He says he's not ready to go to bed just yet if new players are going to join the game. I show him my ace-8 offsuit. We rabbit hunt. The flop was going to be queen-8 rainbow. If this new guy just sat down 5 minutes later, I would have gotten the rest, but I cannot be greedy, not one bit after that huge pot I just won. After an insane session, I start to go a bit card dead. I decide to rack up about 45 minutes after this hand. I wish everyone good game. Rumor has it that the action player actually spun it back up to about 10k or so after I left. I'm really happy to hear that. He was a lovely guy. Guys, don't skip the outro. It's really fun. It's one of my favorite of all time. Tired Gazzy B, take it away. Alright guys, we're all done. I've grinded for 18 hours. We'll talk about results and stuff like that in 1 second. I just want to quickly say it has been a long time since I went into a casino and left the next day. And I always love that thing you do when you go outside and the brightness hits you. So I wanted to get it on camera because it's going to hurt like hell and it's just going to be beautiful and I want to remember it for the rest of my life. Oh, it fucking stings. Oh my god, it's so bright out here. Alright, 18 hours, I won $2,000-ish. I'll put the exact amount on screen. I had an amazing time. It was so fun grinding with the guys. All the hands were insane. It was a really, really cool night. This vlog's going to be the longest ever, but I'm really grateful to you guys for tuning in. Thank you very much. If you could click the sub button, I'd be very grateful. I've got a game at the Golden Nugget in like 4 hours, so I'm going home to bed for a few hours and then I'll see you back here for the next one. Thanks very much. Take it easy.